Class, this is lesson 2-3. This is on two-step and multi-step equations. This is also with one variable. So what we're going to be working on is solving for the variable, and you remember we always want to get the variable by itself. So let's look at an example like this. We have 18 equals 4a plus 10. Well, what this is saying is some number times 4, then add a 10 to it will give us 18. So our goal again is to get that a by itself. Well, right now the 4 and the a are glued together, so we can't do anything with them yet. We have to get rid of this constant over here of the 10. Remember, this is a coefficient, this is a constant. So what's the opposite or inverse of positive 10? That would be negative 10. And what you do to one side, you got to do to the other. Okay, so the 10s cancel, and I get 4a equals, well, 18 take away 10 is going to give me 8. What number times 4 gives me 8? The answer is 2. But in case you didn't know that, we're going to divide by 4. And then we know that a equals 2 because these cancel. All right, let's try another one. What if we had 5t minus 2 equals 32? Again, our goal is to get that t by itself, so right now we need to get rid of this constant. Always get rid of the constants first, then deal with the coefficients. So, what is the inverse of a negative 2? That would be a positive 2. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So these cancel, bringing down the 5t. And 32 plus 2 is going to give us 34. Okay. Oh, actually, I just looked back at my work and realized I made an error. That's what happens when you're working too fast. That's actually a negative 32. So a negative 32 plus a 2 is going to give me a negative 30. So once you start to see that something looks a little funny, always look back at the problem just like I did. You never know when you might catch your mistake. So now I know that 5t times, 5 times something is going to give me negative 30. Divide by 5 on both sides. What you do to one side, you got to do to the other. The t falls down and 5 goes into 30 6 times. A positive and a negative equals a negative. So your answer is going to be negative 6. All right, let's try this one. We have negative 4 plus 7x equals 3. All right, again, our goal is to get that variable by itself, so we need to get rid of the constant. Right now, we have a constant that's a negative 4. So what's the inverse of negative 4? Positive 4. What we do to one side, we got to do to the other. Okay, these cancel. 7x falls down. 3 plus 4 gives us 7. And you should know that when dividing by 7, 7 goes into 7 one time. So my x equals 1. What if we have good old decimals? Well, decimals shouldn't freak us out because they're just a number. But kids always seem to forget the favorite rule of decimals, that when you're adding and subtracting them, you must line them up. All right, so let's go ahead and write this out. Again, we need the y by itself, so we need to get rid of the constant. What is the inverse of a negative 5.7 would be a positive 5.7. What you do to one side, you do to the other. And again, I'm going to line up those decimals. These cancel, dropping down your 1.2y. All right, 7 and 5 gives me 12. Carry the 1, that's 2. And 5 gives me 7. So we get 7.2. All right, now we got to divide by 1.2. Divide by 1.2. Now when dividing by fractions, you don't need to line up the decimals. That's okay. But I do know that 12 times 6 gives me 72. And since the decimal is in the same place value, I know that y is going to give me 6, or y is going to equal 6. Okay, let's try one with division. well, as a fraction in that sense. All right, I have some number divided by 7 added to 2 gives me 2. Well, first thing like we've been doing is get rid of those constants. What's the opposite of positive 2? Negative 2. What you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So this cancels. Oh, and so does that one. So we bring down, whoops, try that again. N over 7 equals 0. Now how are we going to get that denominator out of there? We're going to multiply it. Because what's the inverse of division? Multiplication. So we're going to multiply this by 7 as well. Now these numbers can cancel. Dropping the n down by itself, and 0 times 7 is going to give us 0. Don't freak out when your numbers disappear, because you can keep working with them. Now let's do one that does have a lot of fractions, because fractions for some reason seem to bother kids. They shouldn't. They're just another number. So let's go ahead and work this one out. All right, first thing I'm going to do is do the inverse of negative 3/4, because again, I want to get rid of that constant. So I'm going to add 3/4 to both sides. All right, these cancel. My y over 8 falls down, leaving me, oh, well, I can't do these. I have 2 different denominators. So I need to find a common denominator between 12 and 4. Well, it's going to be 12. If I don't change the bottom, I don't change the top. I am going to change this bottom, and I did that by multiplying that by a 3. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 3 times 3 gives me 9. Now my denominator is the same, so they stay the same. And now I just add the top. So we have 7 plus 9 is going to give me 16. All right, now before you start fixing that fraction, let's go ahead and get rid of this denominator over here. How do you get rid of a denominator? You multiply by it. Because what's the inverse of division? Multiplication. And notice I'm putting them at an angle. Because if I put them side by side, sometimes kids forget that these can cancel. So I'm also going to multiply this by an 8. Now I could put this over a 1 just to make it look more like a fraction. That's fine. So these 8s fall down, and now my variable's by itself, but I got a whole bunch of stuff going on over here I need to take care of. Can I cross-reduce anything? Well, I sure can. This can go in by 4. 4 goes into 8 2 times, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. Can I do anything with the 16 and 1? No. So now I'm just going to go ahead and multiply straight across, and that's going to give me 32 over 3. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it just like so. Now you could go ahead and make this into a mixed number, a decimal, whichever you like, but for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it improper. That's fine. All right. Hopefully this helped clear up some confusion, and you are doing well on this assignment. All right. Have a great time. Bye.